Alright, if you're watching this video, it probably means you have a Suburban or a Tahoe with a similar problem. Problem P0449, which comes up as purge or vent solenoid defective, check connector end wiring, fuel saturated vapor canister, or failed evap vent solenoid. Another thing that it also could be is a bad gas cap. So today, went out and bought the parts for our 2007 Suburban LT. Here is what it looks like on the list. There's your numbers and the price list. $27 for a gas cap, unbelievable. Grand total $127.52. Here's what your parts are going to look like. Gas cap, a little bridge connector there for the power supply since they inevitably changed that. And of course, the fuel vent evap valve, which we're going to install here in a minute. From what I've read online, it says that it's located above the spare tire and that must be removed, which we'll get to. Alright, to remove the spare tire, you're going to have to remove this little plastic thingy here where your jack and stuff is located, and pull out this little black bag here. Then you'll assemble the standard tire changing look piece of equipment, stick it together, and by the looks of it, we're going to have to get in here on the back bumper and pop off this little plate right here. We'll do that next so we can lower the spare tire and get it out of our way. Alright, looks like we got the tire down and out of the way. I didn't even remove it completely. I left the cable attached. I just kind of slid it out of the way. When you go to do it, it's going to be a little different than what you're used to. This right here is apparently a lock to make sure someone can't steal your spare tire. Who knew? Anyway, the way the tool is going to look, the side that's actually going to make it come apart, use two sections. And you're actually going to use the end that has a ribbed square into it, and that's what's going to let it down. That's what locks onto it to bring it out. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our part from underneath. Alright, crawling underneath this puppy. Alright, see where the spare tire was located here. Sorry if the video is a little bad. Doing this on a camera phone here. Alright, looking at this part, here's our culprit right here that we believe is bad. It's got a tube. If you follow it up, it's the ribbed one. It goes all the way up to your gas filling area. And you can see the old one right here. We'll take a look at that part when it comes off, but the filter on it was not nearly as good as the replacement part. I think they realized a lot of dirt gets up in this area and has a tendency to make the filter go bad. We'll follow it back. It's got this other flexible line. If you look over, and I think that's our little carbon box over there. And that bottom of the two hoses that I'm pointing at right now looks like where it's going to end up connecting. We'll have to disconnect that with probably a flathead screwdriver. But I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the zip ties, because you can see those zip ties are going to hold this thing in place. I'm going to start cutting that, getting it out of the way, and be back in a minute. Alright folks, little difference I noticed whenever I got the part out. Looking down here, you can see the old one, really filthy, really dirty. See how this bracket kind of comes around here? This is the aft part of the car going that way, but you can see how dirty it is. Looking at the old hose, it had a filter that was kind of like this. Not very useful, but kind of a bad design. Coming back a little ways, you can see this part coming up right here. Where I was pointing to earlier, it's actually a little bit further north than I thought whenever I went to get it off. It's got a really strange clip though. When you push in on this piece right here, I'm going to turn it over so you can see it better. It's kind of like a button. I suggest that you kind of pull this thing out with your hand while you're pushing in the very, very center with a flathead screwdriver as hard as you can to try to get these teeth to spread apart to let go. And that'll make it easier on you. But yeah, pretty filthy. There's a little difference in the brackets. You see how that one kind of loops around? Well, the new bracket attaches on the right hand side of it and goes back, so you're gonna have to replace it, which brings me to my next point. The bolt actually goes through the top of this, and it's really close to the bottom of the truck, so you're gonna have to reach your hands up and over to get to this bolt. So make sure you have a 1/2-inch socket available whenever you go to do this job, and something about that size is about all you're gonna get in there to be able to get it off. Alright, now for the install. Alright folks, we're back with the install here. You can see back up in there the new filter's in place. Wheel well's probably not the best place for it. I toyed with the idea of a few others, but honestly, it seems like it's a gamble either way. You can tell the new equipment as we travel up the line. Bring it on over. There's a nice new piece. And as you can see, following that line back, You see it actually goes, you see those two that we saw before, it's actually just a little bit in front of there. But it's all installed, and hopefully it's going to come out well. I'm getting ready to have the moment of truth where I'm going to turn on the car and see if the check engine light goes out and clear problem P0449. Alright, I took off the positive battery cable and let it sit for about 15 minutes for good measure to try to reset the codes. Let's give her one more try. I just couldn't wait to get to the store. Oh! Well, you have it, folks. That is how you clear P0449. Hope you enjoyed the video.